and welcome to Health Curious Episode 3. Today, I am speaking with Miss Linda, who lives in the New York metropolitan area. Tell me a little bit about yourself and about your upbringing.
My name is Linda. I was born in Taiwan, and I came here to the States when I was about 3 years old. Grew up with my family, grew up with my grandparents, living in one household. So I have a brother, my parents, all under one household with my grandparents, my uncle and my aunts, my cousins. We had about 10, 12 people living under the same household at one time in our lives, for probably, several years when I was young.
What has your experiences been like dealing with doctor's appointments, hospital trips, healthcare-related issues, etc.?
As far as my experience with the healthcare system and dealing with the doctors, I really only go for my annual checkup. And I believe more in, just sort of I try to do the right things for myself in terms of exercising, eating right, nutrition, and that I think has helped me through the years.
Mm-hmm.
I really haven't had to had many appointments with the doctors or have any major issues, knock on wood.
What medical experience, could be good or bad, has impacted you the most?
At one point I had an issue with my neck when I was young, probably in my late 20s.
Mm-hmm.
And not really certain what it was, but it frightened me just because I couldn't move my neck. And gradually it was getting worse and worse. And then to a point I had a soft brace on my neck, around my neck for a while. I went to the doctor, had a few specialists take a look at me, and they really weren't sure what was going on. And I think one had also recommended surgery, which, really scared me. In my late 20s, I'm healthy otherwise, but had this issue. And, but what it came down to was because of my posture, a very simple fix. And my dad was the one that mentioned, he was the one that asked all the right questions, as far as, what I was doing during the day, how my posture was, how I was sitting, because I tend to sit cross-legged, and I was sitting on a couch with my neck lowered. So he told me to stop doing that and just be more aware of my daily routine, how I was standing. So after a month, it just completely disappeared, and I don't know. I just believe a lot of times when it comes to your health, you have to really take charge of it. And a lot of things, I think that the body is very intelligent, and I believe that a lot of times it can also naturally heal itself. And sometimes it's not that complicated as long as we focus on certain things like even posture, nutrition, as we said, exercise. But otherwise, had I guess with my medical experience in that sense, the thought of someone mentioning surgery for something that I didn't need at all, and it just really had to do with my posture.
It's interesting to see that dynamic because
Yes,
if they just went to surgery, that will automatically fix it, rather than digging deeper and seeing, okay, what does she do in her everyday?
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Understanding a little bit more about you, and simple questions, not even questions, but just teaching, I guess, the public about, it's just something as simple as how much posture means and how much it affects your ailments, let's say, or injuries, right?
Doctors, I guess not all doctors, but some of them don't take the extra step and they just think, okay, surgery, or okay, medicine. And it's
Medicine.
well, if maybe you took the extra steps, you would see like what your dad did, asking the right questions, then
Mhm.
simple fix was posture and you were
Right.
okay.
Right. We're so quick to jump into always treating the symptoms,
Mhm.
whether with medicine, taking a pill. There's a pill for everything these days,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So between medicine and surgery, I feel like we're only always treating the symptoms
Mhm.
and not really getting to the root of the cause of what's
Exactly.
affecting you.
Yeah, like just like solving the problem at hand and not the lifestyle, because I feel like a lot of doctors they solve for what you come in there for, but not
Mhm.
actually how to prevent it in the future.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's why I opted to I changed my primary doctor recently.
Mhm.
So instead of an MD, I went with a DO, which is, I believe, doctor of osteopathic,
Mhm.
who they tend to look at your body as a whole, which I feel like should always be the case, because your body is one big ecosystem.
Mhm.
It's not a sum of its parts. It has to be, you have to treat it as one ecosystem, right? So I feel like they have a better understanding because they look at not only your physical health, they look at your nutrition, they look at how stress affects your life, everything from your mental to your mental state, and your mental condition is very much connected to your physical state.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's also good to question and research because we have the tools, we have the internet,
Mhm.
right? And I think it's important for us to take it in our own hands and understand and dig in a little bit further when there is an issue, right? And understand it a little bit more.
It seems like you take charge on your health, which is
Mhm.
what people
Yep,
should be doing.
absolutely. Yes. And, I remember, and like I said, stress.
Mhm.
So one time in my life, I went for an annual, and it was during a rough period of my life. I was very, very stressed during this time. And I just happened to have an annual visit.
Mhm.
They took my um, blood and to just check all the um, to check my, the blood, and it came out that they were finding my thyroid had a thyroid issue, right? I
Mhm.
forget if it was hypo or hyperthyroidism. And immediately they wanted to prescribe me medication, for it. And had I said yes, I still would be on it today, right?
Mhm.
And this is probably about like what, 12 years ago now, right? I would probably be on it for 12 years right now.
Yeah.
But I said, you know what? Let me wait. I'm going through a lot of stress right now, and I feel imbalanced. I feel like I'm off. I know my body is off right now, and understanding that stress is going to do that to my body. So rather than jumping in and saying yes, I said, you know what? Let me wait, and can we take another test in a few months once I'm not as stressed and things get better. So I waited, and then I had them test me again after a few months, and everything was back on track. So
Yeah.
it wasn't necessary for me to take the medication anymore. It's sad in a way because I feel like that's the only way that most people are being treated, is just, take this pill to fix this issue, take this other pill to fix the other issue.
Mhm.
And then it causes so much havoc within your body, having all these, you know, it's your ecosystem becomes this unnatural state,
Yeah.
and a place of chaos. And um, I just believe that if you can just focus on preventative, and I
Yeah.
feel like there should be more emphasis on preventative.
Well, stemming off of that,
Mm-hmm.
what areas of growth within the doctor-patient relationship do you think should be implemented? Like, what do you think could be better?
Well, as we mentioned before, right? I think rather than treating the symptoms, I think preventative.
Mm-hmm.
right? I think asking more questions, understanding the patient more, taking the time, although these doctors don't have time, and that's the issue. That's the main issue also, to really understand, um, not only trying to fix whatever your ailments are, but understand your lifestyle,
Mm-hmm.
right? And your what you're eating, what you're putting in your body, like your state of mind, mental illness, or stress. All these factors together have a huge impact on your body. Everyone's situation is different,
Mm-hmm.
and over time, if it's, I just feel like once your one part of your body is off.
All of these lifestyle questions, I think, in my opinion, could be something that doctors add to their list of
Yes.
questions, like not just family history, not just name, date, birth, weight,
Mhm.
but also what does your day-to-day look like?
Exactly, exactly. And I feel like stress too is
Mhm.
probably, I feel like stress is such a huge trigger for most illnesses,
Yeah.
because what stress does to your body, even though, it comes from your mind, right? And your thought process, but that triggers different chemicals throughout your body that again affects the whole ecosystem, right? And causes a lot of damage over time.
That right there was my interview with Miss Linda. This episode was a little different from the others, but I loved Miss Linda's opinions on treating the lifestyle as well as the problem at hand. I would also like to point out her emphasis on stress levels in the body and how that affects the body's ecosystem. Very insightful. I also found it to be very captivating, seeing as so many people deal with stress in this day and age. Altogether, this interview gave me a lot to think about in terms of mental health, and I hope it inspires you, as it did I, to find ways to lessen each of our individual stress levels. Thank you so much, Miss Linda. Thank you for listening to Health Curious. If you'd like to subscribe, you can do so on Spotify or YouTube. I hope you'll join me again soon.